Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to the new Furibee Geniuser 160. It's nothing else than a very compact brushless FPV eraser. Yes, one more, and this one is a BNF version coming with the Fierce Sky in G8 mode. So what we have in hand, first of all, we have more or less the last electronic ingredient. We have an F4 board, but with some MPU 6800. It means that we shouldn't suffer too much of some drift phenomena, for example, met with the SPC Maker 19NG, for example. We have more or less a clone of the Runcam micro Swift camera, so 600 TVL only, but with very good light sensitivity. It's a CCD sensor, and we have also the possibility to plug an OSD. That's great. We have some strong motor, some 1506 spinning at 3400, if I'm not wrong. So it's a really beastie machine, a little bit more larger than a very compact 2-inch, 3-inch model, but it should be not so bad. At least you can probably install a small HD camera on top, for example, a Mobius Mini. So let's discover the bundle. Okay, all the elements, and already start to install some of them. But anyway, let's start to discover the instruction manual. A unique one-side printed, at least color printed piece of paper. Well, you will find the information about the board. For example, to tune the back to +5 volt by default, or if you have for example, a Spectrum receiver unit 3.3, you will need to change this boot, okay, this pad and this holder, and to install on the E section. We have the configuration, the UART for the receiver. So if you have more Spectrum 3.3 volts, you will have to turn on the UART 1. And for S-Bus, for example, the Fierce Sky is mod on the UART6 still to enable the serial mode. And the last is more dedicated to the video transmitter. We have the complete list, 6 bands supported, so 48 channel. And good news, the video transmitter got a switchable output port from 25 milliwatt, but an intermediate to 100 and maximum to 200 milliwatt. So that's great. One unique button, so a short press to cycle between the 8 frequency. You have these 3 green LEDs indicating the current one is coded in a binary. Okay, so just turn your mind to guess which one, but it's very simple. Short press to cycle between the 8 frequency, and to select one of the frequency band you will need first to press more than 2 seconds, okay, then short press to cycle between these 6 rows, okay. So no problem, racer band is supported. For the video transmitter output power, you will need to long press more than 10 seconds. Then both the green light and the blue light will stay solid, but at the 3 different positions, up, middle, and down. So by default, we are in the middle, so probably in the 100 milliwatts, but in the up position is a 25, and in down position is a 200 milliwatts. Okay, nothing special. We have an IPX micro FL connectors. That's great if you want to change your antenna. We have 2 bags of antennas. They are exactly some 3-inch, 3052. Okay, durable, etc. One is transparent, already pre-installed, and one black. We have 5.8 GHz antenna, so it's in the ACME connector. It's a pagoda, so with circular polarization, but pagoda. So it's assumed to reject a little bit more the dual polarization. Okay, so this one standalone weighs about 7 grams, a little bit less. What we have a bag with a wrench installer tool, an anti-slide pad, okay, you will need to attach in bottom part of your quadcopter, very efficient, okay, and a small connector, probably 4 pads with 1 millimeter of pitch, probably for your Spectrum radio. That's all, okay. And let's also we receive a battery strap already pre-installed on the bottom side between the lower main elements and the first PDB board on the electronic tower. So let's focus a little bit, and I already pre-installed the props, and be aware it's super hard to completely fasten, even with the wrench tool, the props, because the nut is small. It's I can give some indication if you need some. So the length thread is about 4 millimeters, and the bolt itself is about 8 millimeters. Okay, so it's super hard because you have to install completely down the props, and the thread of the prop is very narrow, just 5 millimeters, and nothing else, no exactly free room, and it's super hard. You will need to fasten the props to let the props go down completely on the surface of the motor. Okay, so you will probably hurt your hands to do it. Be aware of that. So what I regret, we cannot install anymore the machine into this box when it is installed. Anyway, let's continue. First impression, in first glance, wow, it looks super solid. Really, all carbon frame based. The bottom element main plate is 3 millimeters, sounds super solid. The upper one should be close to 2. Yes, so pretty good, and really I feel super confident about the durability. Is a little bit more it's not really an X, it's more elongated in the X-axis. So it's a 160 millimeters machine, okay? And we have as motor some 1506 at 3400 kV. So no problem to support up to 4S. Let's check the distance, if we can install more than 3 inch. It seems not. Okay, so a 3-inch prop maximum. So what we have, this long axis, and no problem, for example, to install a small HD camera on top. It should be possible. Look at the rear side, we can find, okay, here 2 small LEDs. They are configurable through Betaflight, that's great, and a small buzzer, okay, if you lost your machine, is great. We have the externalization through a cable of the video transmitter connection, so it's pretty good, okay. And if you crash it massively, I think the antenna will break, so be aware of that, to not have to lose your antenna while it's turned on, because you can cook your video transmitter. So it should resist moderately to a very upper side crash, but it should be okay. I'm not feel afraid that it will happen very often. So what we have in the electronic, we have this electronic tower, where in the middle we have the F4, okay. So micro USB is on the left side. No need to apply specific board alignment, okay. In Betaflight, everything is connected through connector, micro JST1. So the receiver for the mine, it just installed over the tower, okay, where only the bind button is available. The drawback of this installation is hiding the 2 blue and green LEDs of the video transmitter. So the video transmitter is the upper board on the tower. Here, one more time, is connected through the camera via a connector. So there is a connector, it looks like really, maybe you can already notice, to a Runcam micro Swift. So we have 2.5 millimeters focal length, so probably around 100 degrees of field of view. You can tune the orientation, look that, so very pitchy one, something about more than 45, something about 50-60 degrees, completely horizontal, so 0 degrees. It's great to adjust them, no problem, okay. And good news, well, since it's a cloud of the micro Swift, here we have, okay, a small 2 pads connector. Maybe I will try to make it close up, yes, without to be blur, okay. Maybe adjust the light a little bit, but we have a small, maybe removing the antenna, we have a small 2 pad connection, yes, yeah, okay, again, where you can plug this type of OSD cable, okay. So by default, be aware, all the settings are in Chinese, so you will need to go down to completely to the not the last, not the last, not the eighth, the third before the hand choice to turn on the languages. In fact, the last was to reset the factory reset, but I will show in few instants. Okay, so it's good. You can tune some OSD information. It's more or less the same type of firmware installed on this machine. So we have a CCD camera, should offer super light transition. It should handle very well this type of sequence. We have on top all the cable are very well protected by some nylon cable. That's great. The soldering job seems okay. We have an XT30 connector. So for me, the building looks good, pretty good. So I don't see any major drawback. Maybe the lens is directly exposed to a frontal shock like this. If you meet a branch like this, you can damage your lens. Maybe what I see, and maybe also if you have something, you hit a branch like this, you can break your antenna and eventually this connector. But in the design, look that the antenna support is not an element of the main upper plate. It's just a standalone carbon, so it can be maybe be installed differently if you want. Okay, it should be not a big mode to do. So you will need to install the battery strap like this, and no problem, and install after the anti-slide system. So it's a machine able to run in 4S, and I will probably fly with this 400 milliamps powers, 65C, but I think this machine is more dedicated to support 600, 700 milliamps powers to extend a little bit the flight time. So now it's time to check the default Betaflight configuration. It comes with a Betaflight 3.2. Okay, it's not exactly the last one, but be aware of the Betaflight. In Betaflight, all OSD information are displayed by default, and if you want to play with the OSD information of the camera, you should do first to turn on them to be able to see all the camera OSD information. So what I want to show you first is what are the different elements available through the OSD, and for this I will need to remove this 1, 2, 3, 4 M2 screws to access more easily to this 2 pins connector. Okay, so I disassembled the upper elements, and be sure to have the antenna plug, because to tune your OSD information you need to install to power the system with the battery, and be sure by accident to not have the antenna plugged. So here is the antenna, the camera, sorry, and we have this small right plug where you will be able to install such kind of cable. So like this, so the red should be on the right, okay, if I'm not wrong. Yes, okay, so the red, the power should be on the right. Okay, so now I will be able to turn on the machine, and we have this XT connector. Let's plug it. Okay, sorry. Okay, turn on an FPV monitors to check that the signal. So as I mentioned previously, I already turned off all the OSD information to be sure that it won't be polluted by the Betaflight OSD. So here we can see more precisely all the green and the blue light. So the green on the right is to select your current VFREC inside the current band, and the blue is your current selected V-band. So 2 blue, it means that I'm in Boscam band here, and here 2 green, it means that I am in the 4 channels according to this table. So to turn on the OSD information, when you click first, you will be in Chinese like this. So you will need to go to the third one here, press the central button, okay, and to the right, and you will turn everything to English. Then you will have the cam title, home, exposure settings, okay. So sorry, we need to handle like this the remote. The exposure, the white balance, the backlight, okay, the day and nights in spread in color, image adjustment, DPC language and so on. Okay, so we have the cam title, turn on, off, exposure, etc. So everything can be adjusted. You can turn the backlight or not. Okay, so that's great. Basic setting, but at least you can play with a bit. So what I want to show you is the binding procedure. Okay, so it's a FireSky D8 receiver. We will check that the RSSI is, for example, sent by telemetry, and also if the RSSI is sent on the 9th channel for the OSD, it would be great. If not, maybe we can flash the firmware. Okay, but it would be another operation. So let's check and do the binding procedure. Let's proceed the binding procedure. So if you probably already know, to bind a FireSky product, you will need to press the bind button here, the small tiny switch. Keep it pressed while powering the machine with the connector, so sometimes it's a little bit tricky. So I will start to press this bind button or use a small Allen key to help me. Keep it pressed, okay, be sure. And then to insert the connector, okay, keep it pressed. Okay, then you will need to select the binding procedure. For example, I will bind with my jumper radio, so I will go to the bind button. Okay, and then here, as you can see, and press the bind button. So if everything is okay, you should have the light here start to disappear. You have a green status light disappearing and then flash. So it means that it's a binding procedure is working. So to completely bind the machine, you will need to turn off everything. Okay. Then I will turn on one more time the quadcopter. Be sure to have, of course, your antenna here. Turn on the radio. Okay, and here we have a solid green light here. It means that it's bound. Let's check if we have the telemetry information. So we can go to the transmitter and let's check that. Unfortunately, wow, I don't see any values moving. Okay, so no telemetry information feedback with this current firmware, this basic FireSky receiver. Okay, so what I want to show you, because I forgot to mention, is the total weight of this machine. Okay, so standalone, we reach more or less the weight of 157 grams, and if you add this battery, okay, we should reach about 217. Okay, with the anti-slides pad. Okay, a little bit less than 220 grams. We are under the 250 grams limit, okay, and probably you'll be able to attach also a small Mobius camera installed on top. Now it's time to check the default Betaflight and BLHeli configuration. Remember, all the OSD information are displayed by default, so probably the only tuning we'll need to do is more about the OSD. Let's check that. Okay, so let's check the default Betaflight configuration. So I will connect the USB and now connect to Betaflight. First things is to check the current version installed. So we have an Gearbest F4 with a built-in OSD and with the default 3.2 branch Betaflight release installed. So I strongly advise to dump, in any case, all the default settings. Okay, in case you did a mistake somewhere, sometimes you will be able to restore all your default settings. Okay, so I'll copy all the elements into a text file. Okay, here what I already did, and save it to this text file. And if you need to restore it, just copy paste all this command here. Okay, and don't forget to finish with the save command to save all the restore configuration. So now let's have a look to the machine. I will press one more time, reboot the machine, press connect, and we have actually the reading, but it's the voltage, but it's powered by the +5 volt currently. Zeros as acceleroids are here. In terms of port, very important, I've got a FireSky version, so the UART 6 serial is turned on. Okay, for the spectrum, it is more this UART1, so be aware of that. Configuration, oh, it sounds not bad. We have the Dayshot 600 turned on by default, that's great. So we don't have any board alignment as specifically mentioned in the unboxing. Okay, and where's my mouse? Here. Okay, and we have the main loop at 2 kilos of the PIDs and gyros at 8 kilos. We can probably push up to 8 kilos without any problem. The F4 can handle, and we still, and even the MPU 6800 can handle 8 kilos without too much problem. We have the serial receiver, and more specifically tuned to S-Bus. It was logical. And in terms of features, we have the LED strip turned on and OSD. And as for the beeper, we have everything. Okay, no problem. So we can save the configuration. The CPU load will increase just a fraction. Okay, just 5%, so increase of 1%. That's really good. So 8 kilos is not a big deal to handle for F4 board. We can go directly to the PID tuning, and we have the default Betaflight 3.2. Okay, nothing special. So I will apply more my favorite settings. Okay, more something to 800 degrees per second, like this. And for the yeah answer, something more linear, something about 0.33. And it will be not so bad. Okay, the level strength for angle and horizon is set to 15. Okay, and nothing special. Let's check the filtering. Okay, we have the default D term. The low pass filter is a big quad. Can maybe adjust for PT1, whatever you want. Okay, so let's check now the we'll save the configuration. Okay, it's saved, and let's go to the receiver. So I will turn on my transmitter. Okay, and I will check that my current channel mapping with my jumper is correct. It sounds to be, and I already more or less center all the first channel into the 1500 values, and be sure to have to tune a maximum about 2000. Okay, let's check for the roll. Okay, and for the minimum about less than 1100, to be sure to hum if you want to hum with the left stick command. Okay, so I've got two auxiliary available, 2 3-way position. So we will check now the default flight mode, and we can see that the arming is done on the arm 3. Okay, so I will probably disable this one. Okay, or maybe just the aux 1. Okay, and to harm when it's on the upper position. Okay, like this, and I will select the flight mode with aux 2 here. So the angle is selected by default. I will add the horizon in the when the switch is in the it is in the middle position. Okay, and the acro more with anti-gravity turn on. Okay, and here I will add also, if I can, the what we have, the air mode as well. Okay, I will change something about the arming because I want to apply a buzzer as well. So I will more select the arming in the middle position of aux 1 and more assign a buzzer. Okay, where is the beeper? Somewhere. Yes, here for when the aux 1 is on the upper position. So let's save that. Okay, so now the flight mode is here. We have horizon and then acro with anti-gravity. Why it's not turned on? But we should because it's aux 2 here. Sorry. Okay, and as well the aux 2 here, and let's save that. Okay, so now we have everything configured. Okay, and angle, horizon, anti-gravity preserve mode, and here we have the buzzer and the as well on the arming on the middle position. Let's check now a little bit the OSD information, and as you can see, everything is turned by default, but I would like to check something. If the RSSI is displayed, unfortunately no RSSI here, so it's a real drawback. So I could expect to have it about in aux5, but it's not the case. So we won't be able to display with this current FirSky receiver the RSSI into the OSD. So no RSSI information in telemetry and no RSSI information in the OSD, unfortunately. That's maybe the main drawback of this machine, at least for the FirSky BNF version. So let's return to the OSD. I will turn off everything, and then I will display the main voltage. Okay, so or something in bottom left. I don't know if the machine is in PAL or NTSC format, but I will assume that is more in PAL format. And let's check. I will display the crosshair. I want to display the timer. Okay, something like here, bottom. Okay, and the flight mode, of course, so more in the middle, and the throttle position as well. Okay, more something in the middle. Okay, like this. And what I can also display, I think all the important information are here. Okay, so I can save. So nothing a lot of information, but the minimum very important for FPV racing. For the LED strip, we have just the basic light, so let's check that. We have a color. It's not associated with the throttle input, so if you want to vary, you can turn on the throttle. Okay, as well for the second one. So the LEDs are not very well configured. Okay, and if you want to also to be proportional to your turning, you can also activate the indicator here. Okay, it's up to you, but since we have only 2 LEDs, it's maybe not very important to show the turning. Okay, let's save, and we should be ready to go. Okay, and let's check in the field, and then first I want to also check the BLHeli default settings. Okay, so now it's time to check the default BLHeli settings through BLHeli configurator. So I will press connect. Then I will need to plug the battery, so be sure to have your antenna correctly connected to be sure to not cook your video transmitter. So let's do it. Okay, and not a full ESC booting, press read setup, and we have the version 16.6. okay, that's great. We can eventually turn on the brake and stop information. Okay, since we have a buzzer, no need to play with the beep strength and okay, and the beacon delay. So we have more or less the same the last BLHeli configuration, and click right setup to save our brake and stop. Okay, now it's done. So that's good news, and now it's time to check a little bit this machine in the field and to feel the 4S power of this 1506 motors. Let's go. Welcome to the demo flight of the Geniuser 116. So as you can see, I will fly with a small 500 4S battery. I really like the design in general, and as you saw in the Betaflight configuration, except the OSD, everything is very well tuned out of the box. That's great. So we'll see this little monster in 4S. Today is extremely windy, so I need to fly in my nearby more or less protected park. No yet wide open space to enjoy this beast. I hope in the second part. Anyway, I will fly with my jumper, and we'll start in a lost condition to see a little bit how are the punch out, okay, with this listed monster. Let's go. Okay, so I will turn on the machine with the XT30 connector. Okay, and well, what to do like this. Okay, and turn on the jumper radio. Okay, it's bound more or less, and I will record on the new Skyzen. Oh, I need to remove the lens cap. It will be better. Okay, and I will record with the new Skyzen 03. And let's go first. We'll harm this. Okay. Okay. Wow, you can feel a lot. Oh my god, it's punchy. You can see under load the buzzer is beeping, but it's super nice. Wow. Fly beautifully with the default Betaflight settings. Yes, very well, very good. So, can we observe a drift in angle mode? A little bit, okay, so maybe some soft mounting will be a good idea versus time, but really is not so bad. Really, I really like it. So let's continue now more in acro.